Hey friend, happy, interesting time between Christmas and New Year's time of year. This is that weird week where it's kind of like, what day is it? What time is it? I don't know. But I hope you're enjoying your holiday season. I hope you had a beautiful Christmas, and I'm really excited to bring you a recast episode. So I just listened to this episode myself that I recorded over a year ago while I ate lunch. It's a nice, short, little, great lunch break episode, but I just listened to it and I was like, I've got to share this with everyone again because this is just as relevant today as it was a year ago. So this originally aired last year in November, and now you guys are hearing it in December. And this is all about how you can be keeping more of the money you bring into your business. So ways to reduce spending, and even more specifically, ways to do that at the beginning of the year. This is stuff specifically that right now is the best time to evaluate and change. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you take action on it. And the only thing I want to add before I play what I recorded last year is that I talk a few times about QuickBooks in here, and I now use a different software called Xero. I think both QuickBooks and Xero are awesome. I'm one of those kind of people that's like, let's not obsess about what software we use, but I just wanted to point that out that I've now switched to Xero. And I actually, like I talk about in this episode, I switched at the very beginning of the year. So a great time to kind of do that. But I think both of those are great options, and I'm linking to both in the show notes. So anyway, without further ado, happy holidays to you. Happy New Year. And let's play this awesome episode about how you could be banking more of your business income in 2023. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, so I run a pretty lean business, meaning high profit margins and lower expenses, and I'm proud of that. And I think the type of business I run, meaning an online business, should be able to be lower expense. But so often that's not the case for online businesses because it's so easy to just spin, shiny object syndrome is real. There's always a new course, a new software, a new retreat or mastermind or event or whatever it is to go to. And in addition to that, most of us, myself included, did not study finance, accounting, or bookkeeping or any of that professionally. And we might struggle to really see where our money is going. And sometimes it's easier just to not look, right? We did not get into our business because we love finances. We got in because we love coaching or graphic design or photography or whatever it is. But we've got to look at the numbers. So as we move into the new year, it's really the perfect time to evaluate what's been happening in our business financially and what shifts we can make to improve our finances. Most of us as business owners might reflect on the past year and set new goals for the new year. And I want to do that same thing, critically looking at the way we spend money in our business, what can be changed, what can be improved. So in this really short episode, I'm going to show you 4 areas to look at right now when it comes to your finances, specific questions to ask to evaluate these things. And it's going to set you up for an awesome new year. I came up with this podcast idea because this is what I do. I literally was like, okay, I'm going to do some evaluating soon of my business finances. I like to do this in November, December. And hey, why don't I record a podcast episode and tell you guys exactly what I'm looking at year over year? So again, listen through. Once you're done with the episode, I'd say go in and do all of these things. I'm going to give you a step-by-step how-to here. And I hope this helps you create a more profitable business for the new year. So let's go. All right, the first thing to evaluate to help you start creating more profits in your business. So, evaluate all of your recurring bills and subscriptions. So, what I want you to do is get out your bookkeeping reports for your business and see what you're paying for each month recurringly. So, sometimes we get so used to those little expenses here and there. We sign up for this software, we sign up for this coaching program, whatever it is, that we miss the big picture that yes, maybe that subscription is just $15 a month, but you spend $180 on it over the whole year. And if you don't really need it, then that's not money well spent. And I know it might be like, oh, $180, it's not that much. $15 a month, it's not that much. But thinking about money as in always, it's not that much, it doesn't really matter, is not how we build wealth and is not how we build a really successful, profitable business. So look at your subscriptions and recurring payments. If you use QuickBooks, fun fact, you can actually easily see the full picture of what you spend on things by going to the report called Expenses by Vendor Summary. There are other ways too, a lot of different ways in QuickBooks to look at this, but that's the report I really like to use because you can see a breakdown of all the different quote unquote vendors that you're paying money to with a total by it. And then you can kind of see, okay, where's the money going, right? So here are the questions I want you to ask about those recurring subscriptions. Can you move down a tier on any of these, right? Most softwares have multiple tiers. Maybe even you look at one and you're like, hey, I moved to that like $20 a month paid version, but I actually think I can move back down to the free version because I don't use it that much. So see if you can move down a tier. Or is there something you don't use anymore that you can just completely cancel? You're like, yep, I don't use that anymore. I need to cancel it. I didn't even realize I was paying for that until I see it in my QuickBooks summary. Third question to ask, is there a deal that you can re-up with for the new year to get yourself a better rate? As an example, Adobe, if you're a designer or photographer and you're using like the Adobe Creative Suite, I'm not sure if they'll do it this year. I will watch for if they do, and I will share on social media if I see it. But typically every year Adobe does a deal on Creative Cloud where basically you have to like resubscribe, but you can get a way better rate, like significantly less, like 50% off or something like that. And they run the deal in December every year. And it's kind of hard to make happen, but when you do, you're saving big for that whole new year. So look for those kind of deals. And then another thing to consider, is there a company that you could reach out to, a company you have a subscription with, and ask for a better rate? So, you hear about people doing that all the time with things like internet and phone services. That can also be true of other subscriptions we have for our online business. So is there a company that maybe you could ask like, hey, do you have any sort of deal right now that maybe I'm not seeing on your website that I could take advantage of? Again, could be worth doing. It could take you just 5 minutes, but then save you a lot of money over the course of the whole year. So yeah, just evaluate like all your subscriptions if you need them. Can you change the price on them? Can you change the tier? Can you cancel them? Whatever it is. As a quick example, I recently canceled a membership I was a part of because I realized I hadn't used it in 3 months. And I kept telling myself, I'm going to use it soon. I'm going to use it soon. I need to keep subscribing. But month over month, honestly, more than 3 months, I just kept not using it. And by canceling it when it was something I wasn't using anyway, I saved over $1,000 in the next 12 months, month over month, by just making that one simple decision and looking and seeing, hey, I'm not really using this. Let's cancel it. So look for areas you can get more lean in your business by canceling, lowering a tier, all of that kind of stuff. So again, look at that, reporting QuickBooks or wherever you're looking at your information, make notes of like, okay, these are the ones I want to reach out to this company. I need to cancel this. I need to lower a tier on this. And then when you're done going through these steps, you can go back and then like cancel and change the subscription. So that's my first thing to evaluate, your recurring bills and subscriptions. Now, let's move on to the second thing. This is still looking at your subscriptions, but I want you this time to look at the subscriptions where you're like, there's no way I'm going to cancel that. Like, this is something that is essential to running my business. I'm definitely going to keep it, at least for the year. Maybe it's like a forever thing. Let's observe those and consider switching to a yearly subscription in order to save money, if that's an option. So for example, if you use Show It, you can save about $50 or more depending on what tier you're on, by switching to a yearly subscription instead of a monthly one. With other things like Dubsado, Planoly, ConvertKit, Flowdesk, all of those, you're going to save big on a yearly subscription. So if you have the cash right now and I'm going to keep using this, I'm not going to change away from this company, then it can be worth it in the long haul to get hit more, let's say in 1 month on your P&L, but then save money over the whole year because, hey, you're not paying for that subscription month over month and you got big savings on it. So again, looking at that list of subscriptions, make note of the companies where you're like, hey, I know I'm not going to part ways with you. And then after that, go ahead and research, do they have a yearly subscription plan that's going to save you money? Maybe they have a deal right now, a promotion that you could snag by switching to a yearly plan because of it being the new year. Again, companies always are running that sort of thing. So look into that. That's number 2, looking at the subscriptions you're definitely going to keep. Now, kind of moving away from subscriptions. Tip number 3, I want you to find your highest expense on your profit and loss besides paying yourself. Paying yourself is likely, hopefully, the highest expense. Depending on where you are in your business, it might not be the highest, but at some point we'd like for that to be the highest. But besides paying yourself, what's the highest expense? And I want you to ask, do I need it? Could I reduce it? And what's the ROI on it? Like, what's the return on this biggest expense investment? Again, so often we have monthly expenses or we have these one time a year big things, or we're paying someone to do something and we don't even really consider often enough whether or not we need it. But I want you to ask this question because first of all, you just need to know where the majority of your money is going. Like if there's one place that you're spending so much, you should know that and be able to answer that question of like, hey, what's the place I'm spending a lot of money? And second, because you can't evaluate all of this kind of stuff without having the data. So look at what is the highest expense. Just to use my own business as kind of an example, because again, I was looking at this as I was outlining this for you guys. My highest expense for the year in its entirety, so looking at the year as a whole, not on an individual month basis, is my team and contractors. And I can see this on my P&L and then I can, click into it and go deeper and see more data. And I can ask, is there someone I'm paying where I'm like, I don't really need to be paying for that? That ROI on that investment has not been worth it maybe. I'm not saying I have that situation, but I need to look at each of those expenses, the investment, and say, what is the ROI? As an example, looking at like a month over month basis, for me at one point in my business, my biggest monthly expense month over month was Facebook ads. And it was for like many months on end. And when I added up, and when I say the biggest expense was Facebook ads, it was both like the ad cost itself that I'm paying to Facebook and then the Facebook ad management company I was paying as well. Like that combined was the biggest cost. So I had to evaluate. What's the ROI? Am I actually making more money because of those ads? Right? Like we can just assume like, oh, of course you should run Facebook ads. Of course you should buy this whatever thing, but is there an actual ROI? If there's not, it's not worth it. Are you just wasting money? And that's something I really had to dive into for my business and like figure out. So I want to encourage you to do that as well. And, maybe even like I said, look at the highest expense, maybe also look at like, what's the second highest expense? What's the third? And again, just ask that question, like really look at it. What's the return on investment? Am I making more money? Am I wasting money? Can I change this up somehow? Should I change this up somehow? And again, for those of us who don't love numbers, y'all, that is so me. As I'm talking through this, I might sound like someone who loves finance stuff. I do not. It's not fun for me. I often want to skip this kind of mundane part of our business, right? But this stuff matters big time and it makes a big difference in the growth of your business over the long haul. So it's something worth looking at. So that was the third tip. Find your highest expense on your P&L besides paying yourself, and evaluate, do I really need that? Can I change it up somehow? And now the fourth thing, this is the last one, but it's a big one. And there's a lot, honestly, this one is like a lot of little tips in it at once, but I'm kind of grouping it into like just calling it number 4. So evaluate the way you're managing your business's money. So to explain what I mean, first of all, there is not a better time of year ever, like no better time than right now to change up your business finances when the new year's happening. It's the cleanest time. You can start fresh on January 1st with a new system. So here are some things that I want you to consider switching out, adding in. Do I need that? Should I change that up? Because again, like there's no better time than right now. There's no easier time than right now. So first thing, your book software. Is it time to switch to something like QuickBooks? Maybe you're on QuickBooks self-employed and maybe it's time to go to the regular version of QuickBooks. I had to make that switch a few years ago. I really don't know why, but for whatever reason, when I first started using QuickBooks, I was on self-employed, and you actually can't, you have to just start over completely. You can't transfer the data to regular QuickBooks. And so when I made that shift, I did it January 1st because that was going to be the simplest time to do it. So New Year's a perfect time. Do you need a new income projection system? A way to track the finances in your business in a spreadsheet? If so, I want to go ahead and give a little plug here. My tool, Profit Sheet, would be perfect for you. January 1st, again, is a great time to add something like this in. And for service businesses, it'll help you project what's coming each month. So you can track expenses, your profit margins, your taxes saved and paid, when you've paid yourself. So many cool things. I will link to that in the show notes. It's something you can just buy whenever you need it on my website. It's a really low cost offer. And seriously, right now is a perfect time to buy it. It's really affordable and you'll be able to get started with it on January 1st. So again, you can find it on my website, elizabethmccravey.com/profit-sheet will get you there. And I'll link to that in the show notes. But consider, do you need something like that? And start with it now. Next thing to consider, is it time to hire a bookkeeper? So maybe you DIY'd your books so far in your business, but then you're looking at 2021 and you're like, oh my gosh, I've had so much growth this year. It's time to actually pay a bookkeeper instead of doing books just completely alone. So look into that. And this is a great time. Bookkeepers will love it if you're starting fresh in the new year and they're not having to backtrack stuff for you. And then on the money front, on the accepting payments front, is it time you switch up how you're accepting your payments from clients? So maybe you've been getting paid on the personal Venmo option or Cash App so far in your business. And now it's time to get more professional and switch to accepting payments on Stripe or PayPal and using a real invoicing system like Dubsado. If you want more info on why you should not use the personal Venmo option for your business, scroll on back to episode 88 of this podcast. I'll link to it in the show notes. It's a really short episode, but I share all about why you should not use Venmo to accept payments as a business. It is messy. It's really bad from a bookkeeping perspective. And if you're wondering okay, I've been using Venmo, I've been using Cash App, what would switching look like? Go listen to that episode. But that's really what this last one is to recap. Do you need to start using a bookkeeping software like QuickBooks? And if so, I actually have a deal on QuickBooks. I'll put a link to that in the show notes where you can get 55% off your first 3 months using my link. So I'll link to that. But do you need to get started with a bookkeeping software like QuickBooks? Do you need a new spreadsheet system for tracking your income and expenses like Profit Sheet? Is it time to hire a bookkeeper to help you manage your money? Maybe even a financial advisor for the business, something like that. Consider, do I need to upgrade to that? And then is it time to accept payments in a more professional way? And even as I'm saying that list, that's not exhaustive. You might have come up with other things that you're oh yeah, that's a way I'm doing money in my business that I want to evaluate. But those are the main ones that come to mind for me. So yeah, that's it, friends. Those are the 4 areas I'd recommend you evaluate. And I hope you took notes on that and we'll go back and implement this. And if you're driving or working out or unloading the dishwasher or some other sort of multitasking, I'm with you. That is what I do when I listen to podcasts. So if that's you, maybe read over the blog post that goes with this episode so you can get a recap and go implement all of these things and evaluate these areas and then get your business on track for the new year. So cancel the subscription, ask for a better rate, scale back on what's not giving you a return for what you're paying. So do this process and you're setting yourself up for a beautiful financial start to 2022. I really hope this short episode was helpful to you. And I want to encourage you, if it was helpful, please share this with a business owner friend who you think it would also help. Sharing the podcast is such a great way to support it. And it, costs nothing to you. And I so appreciate it. And also, because I haven't mentioned this in a while, if you're a regular listener and you've never left a review or rating, I would so appreciate it. I read every review and I love hearing from you guys about, what episodes stick out to you, what you're learning, different things you're implementing, and how this show helps you grow your business. So leaving a review is super, super easy. And I can't wait to read what you write. I'll be back next week. Hope this episode was so helpful. Talk to you later. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravey.com, you'll find show it website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made show it website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravey.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravey.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.